Suzanne Shelton is president and CEO of Shelton Group. Suzanne's company is a leading marketing communications firm entirely focused in the sustainability and energy efficiency sectors. The company polls Americans on an ongoing basis to understand their drivers and obstacles to more sustainable or energy efficient products and behaviors, and uses those insights to help some of their nation's leading brands define and leverage sustainability and energy efficiency stories to gain a market advantage. Suzanne will share insights from her firm's quarterly polling, as well as a few examples of what works to engage Americans into changing attitudes and behaviors to be more energy efficient and green. Ms. Shelton's presentation, But I Don't Want To, will address engaging reluctant Americans, that's almost all of them, into energy efficiency and sustainability. And we're really delighted to have with us from Knoxville, Tennessee, Suzanne Shelton.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm from Knoxville, home of the other UT. Hopefully y'all won't hold that against me as we get started. How are y'all doing? Good. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So I was saying at my table earlier, I could talk to y'all for about 4 hours about what Americans think, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and how that impacts the change you guys are trying to create, the programs you're trying to drive, the awareness you're trying to stimulate. But I've got 30 minutes, so what I can tell you is I've got more teed up in my deck than I can get through today, and I am happy to share this with you. If you want to give me a business card after my presentation, I'm happy to give you this, and y'all can peruse it. You can share it with people back in your organizations. Please feel free to avail yourself of that, because there's some really good insights and data in here, and I want to make sure you guys get the full value of it. You have also probably figured out by now that I am the fastest talking Southern woman you have ever met in your life. And I apologize. I will try really hard to manage that. But that's another good reason to get the slide deck later, because I may just breeze right past something that you guys are interested in. So to quickly level set, and great introduction, but just to remind you guys kind of why I'm here and what I'm speaking from. My firm is the nation's leading marketing communications firm entirely focused in the energy and environment space. So this is all we do is understand how to move the market to be more energy efficient and more sustainable. And to that end, we poll the market on a quarterly basis. These are our studies. They are statistically significant. We talk to between 1,000 and 1,500 Americans every quarter, and we mirror the U.S. population in our survey set. So I'm going to be speaking from these studies today. And so when you see some statistics up on the screen, know that those aren't just, hey, we talked to 10 people. Those are statistically significant numbers with a margin of error of 3%. All right, so it's pretty robust stuff, and we've been doing this for 8 years now, so we've got nice trending data, so it's pretty juicy stuff. And it's cool to know some things, but we know some things in service of helping companies define and leverage their sustainability commitment to gain a market advantage. That's what we exist to do, and that's all we do day in and day out for folks like this. Energy companies, building product companies, consumer packaged goods entities, and some folks playing in the B2B space. So that's us, and that's why I'm up here talking to you guys. We're going to start kind of broad and then get more specific and just, again, throw a lot at you, and maybe we'll have a few minutes left at the end for some Q&A. Know that, as it says on the slide, many Americans care about the features and benefits inherent to green and energy-efficient homes, so that's good news. Let's start there with what they actually care about. 81% say, hey, energy efficiency would cause me to choose one home over another, all things being equal. You know, school district being the same, price being about the same, you know, all that. Yeah, if it's more energy efficient, I'd choose it. So that's great. We also know they care about renewable energy. We've asked this question for the last few years. If you were the president of the United States and you could only support one form of energy, what form of energy would you support? And overwhelmingly, it's solar. In fact, natural gas took over the second place this year for the first time in several years. It used to be wind. But overwhelmingly, Americans love solar, y'all. And they don't need to know how it really works. They just get it that the sun is really hot and we should make energy from it. You know, so that's great. And if you think about it, there have been a lot of awesome songs written about the sun. Not so many awesome songs written about natural gas or coal, right? So we like the sun as Americans, and we think we should make energy out of that, and that's great. So we love that. And about half of us are at least somewhat concerned about the quality of the air we're breathing in our homes. I can't tell you why that number is not 100%. I think most of us should be concerned about the air quality in our homes, but at least half of us are somewhat concerned. And 84% of us think that an energy efficient home is a healthier home. So these are all the good data points. This is all the encouraging news. And now for the depressing part of my presentation. They don't know what the heck you're talking about most of the time. And we tested some specific terms, and I'm worried this slide's going to be a little hard to see for those of you back in the back, so I'll try to narrate it. The way we asked this question was, check any of the following terms or phrases that you know you could confidently and correctly explain to a friend. Only 45% of the American population thinks they could confidently, correctly explain the term efficient home. That means 55% of us think, yeah, I couldn't explain that to somebody, sorry. Don't really know what an efficient home is. Yet that seems like a no-brainer to us, right? Like, doesn't that just kind of make sense? Like, that's easy. We all ought to be able to explain that, not so much. And then when you get down to things like net zero home and high performance home and, oh my goodness, low carbon footprint, they have no idea what you're talking about, guys. So we've noticed that some of this jargon is starting to make its way into sales literature and advertisements, and you got to stop it because it's meaningless to them. If you're running ads saying buy our high performance home or lower your carbon footprint, people may nod their heads at you, but they don't really know what you mean. And if they don't really know what you mean, they can't take action because they'll be held back by, I don't really understand. And just think about it in your own life. When you don't really understand something, it's hard to make a decision about it. In fact, it's impossible. You won't make the buying decision if you don't really understand what it is you're buying. So they don't know what you're talking about. And then when it comes to air quality, they really don't know what we're talking about there. When we ask them, well, what should you do to improve the air quality in your home? They're not thinking about VOCs and off-gassing. They're thinking, man, I need to open some windows and get some houseplants. Right? So when you say indoor air quality, they like the benefits of indoor air quality, but they don't understand that term. So you'll want to stop using that term. Further, when it comes to having to choose between the environment, their comfort, or their convenience, the environment loses out to comfort every time. Yes. So comfort is a big driver, guys, and that's what we need to be talking about. As we talk about efficient, more sustainable homes and buildings, we want to talk about comfort, we want to talk about lowering costs, we want to talk about resale value. We do not want to talk about saving the polar bears and saving the planet, because it's just not the driver. And in fact, compared to the environment, chemicals and chemical content is a much more visceral, emotionally compelling driver. Many Americans are concerned about this. They're concerned about their kids with asthma, their kids with food allergies. They're concerned about what's in all this stuff that I'm touching, I'm ingesting. There have been enough public food scares. There have been enough scares about bad sheetrock and lead and paint and all that sort of stuff that's on their radar screen. They're a little nervous about that. So the idea of a healthier home is a lot more compelling than the idea of saving the environment. Now, when it comes to energy efficiency, and we were talking about this a little bit at our lunch table, I said earlier, man, 80% of the population cares about that. They would buy an energy efficient home over a not energy efficient home. But it's complicated. Saying it's energy efficient is not as easy as that, and here's why. 80% of us think we do not use more energy today than we did 5 years ago. Now, we're wrong about that, right? But 80% of us think we don't. 49% of us think our homes are already energy efficient, thank you very much. So when those utilities advertise, you should save energy, most of us are like, yeah, I don't know why you're talking to me, because my home's already efficient and I'm not using any more energy. Miraculously, despite the fact that we have that perception, half of us claim that we've made between 1 and 3 improvements to make our homes more energy efficient. Yet what do you think has happened? Those people say their utility bills have gone up and not down. And so that gets us to grumpy face on the end of the slide. They're mad, and largely they're off the train of energy efficiency. And our data, y'all, we can see like the percentage of people who've done one thing to make their home more energy efficient stays about the same to the second thing, stays about the same to the third thing, and then there's this massive drop off. It's like people go, well, okay, I did one, I replaced some light bulbs, didn't really see my bill go down. Well, maybe I didn't do enough. I'll change up my thermostat. Well, I didn't really see my bill go down. Maybe I ought to do that caulking and sealing thing I keep hearing about. All right, I'll do that. And then they don't see the change and they go, man, screw it. I'm off the train. I'm done. I'm not going to mess with this anymore. And so quite frankly, we've lost half the market around energy efficiency. because they're just not interested anymore. They don't see the value proposition. They don't want to play. So we've got a lot of work to do to get them back. How many utilities do I have in the room? All right, awesome. So Grumpy Face here blames you. We've asked this question for 8 years. Who's to blame for rising energy costs? And for 6 years, back and forth, it was either the oil companies or the U.S. government. Those were the number 1 and number 2 answer for 6 years. Last year, for the first time, utilities hit the top of the list, and they stayed there this year. So they think it's your fault. Honestly, they think you just make up a number, and you charge them that every month. There is no way in the world that they are using that much energy. You were just making up a number and sticking it to them. All right? Now, how much do you think, based on that, based on this aggravation and this anger they have, how much do you think they expect to cut their energy bill if they spend $4,000 on energy efficient improvements? Half, I heard. Any other guesses? Third? It's not realistic. And when we look at it from a numbers perspective, what the American population is basically saying is that phrase we've all said at one point in our life, and that phrase is, oh, you'd have to pay me $1 million to get me to do that. That's essentially what they're saying. What we've seen is, in 2007, when we said, how much would you have to save to spend $4,000? Well, I'd have to save $71 a month. And then it went to 92, and then it went to 107, and then it went to 142. So what they're increasingly telling you is, I don't want to do it. And the only way you're going to get me to do it is, frankly, to pay me to do it. Because isn't the average utility bill about $100, right? So you'd have to pay me $42 a month, essentially, to get me to spend $4,000 on energy efficient improvements, is basically what they're saying. So they don't want to do it. And why don't they want to do it? They don't see the value in it. Bottom line, when we ask Americans, are you expecting to make energy efficient improvements? And a lot of them say no. And we say, well, why wouldn't you? Oh my gosh, it's just too expensive. Those upfront costs, just too much. Couldn't possibly do it. All right, we go through a few more questions, and then we say, well, are you planning to make any aesthetic improvements to your home? Yes. Yes, they are. The vast majority of the people who just said it was too expensive to spend money on insulation and HVAC system are perfectly willing to part with that money for granite countertops. All right, because they don't see the value, and because we have created a societal notion that if I get granite countertops or I improve my bathroom, I can sell my home for a higher price tag. If I add insulation and I upgrade my HVAC system, I'm not going to get my money back when I sell it. I'm not going to get my money back right now because I've tried some things I haven't saved on my utility bill, and I'm certainly not going to command a higher price when I sell my home. So this is the greatest message I want to leave you guys with, is we have to help the American population understand that there is value in this, that if they do the right things in their home and they manage their behaviors in the right way, they actually will save money on a regular basis, and they will command a higher price point. Most Americans don't know this. That the average price premium for homes sold with an Energy Star or LEED label sells for a 9% price premium. UCLA and UC Berkeley did an excellent study in the state of California looking exactly at that. Of all the homes sold over a certain time period, how much did the ones with an Energy Star or LEED label sell for versus those that didn't? And they normalized and equalized for things like school district and price point and HOA systems. So they made the playing field equal, and what they found is there was a 9% price premium on those energy efficient homes. So that's the message we need to get out there is, you know what, you want to sell your home, upgrade these things, you're going to command a 9% price premium. And we do need to verify that data on a state by state by state basis, because obviously California may be different. But that's what we need to change. It's a value proposition problem. They don't see the value in energy efficiency. So now that I've just said that, you're thinking, oh, well, clearly we need to educate people. Here's the challenge with education, y'all. It's kind of like this. It's boring. The minute you start thinking about your marketing as education, it gets really boring really fast. And most every utility we work with has a budget for education. And what I would tell you is strike that word from your language and think about it as engagement. So we have money for engagement. We have money for inspiration. Don't think about it as education, because it's boring, and education presumes I know some stuff and you are stupid and I'm going to tell you what I know, and nobody likes that. The last thing about education is it's a false premise. The premise here is if we educate the market, they will behave differently. So if they know some stuff, then they'll do some stuff differently. Show of hands. How many of you can think of at least one thing you know you should do on a daily basis to make yourself healthier, and you don't do it? Right. So knowing a thing doesn't mean you're going to do a thing. Just means you know a thing. That's all it means. So we can educate them 6 ways to Sunday about energy efficiency and how awesome it is and why they ought to do it, and they can go, awesome, thanks, and they might do nothing. So education doesn't lead to action, and what you need to think about in terms of marketing is how are we going to engage, how are we going to change behaviors, how are we going to change attitudes, how are we going to move them to do the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, and on. The other thing is, don't try to scare the market into buying. I may have some environmentalists in the room, I don't know. Environmentalists always want to scare people into this stuff, you know, like, oh, the planet is doomed and we have to do something. And it really doesn't work. It just really doesn't work. Most Americans don't want to hear negative messages and really scary stuff about the planet. We just kind of tend to go la 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 la, like we just don't want to listen, so don't do that. And let's also stop talking about saving money, because saving money has become wallpaper. It's like this, it's just ubiquitous, it's everywhere, it's not a unique message, it's not an interesting message, and further, as I laid out earlier, it's really not a check you can cash. You can tell them all day long, hey, you should be energy efficient and save money, and the odds are they may not save any money, because the utility may raise the rate, and that offsets the thing that they just did, or we know that when people buy more energy efficient products, they behave in a way that consumes more energy. Oh, well, you know, I bought those squiggly light bulbs, and now I just leave them on all the time because I feel safer. Or I bought that higher efficiency HVAC unit, and so I just set my thermostat to a more comfortable temperature, right? So that's how they behave with this stuff. So we're pushing products, and we're not pushing behavior change, and so people aren't seeing the savings. So stop saying it, because it's a promise that you can't really deliver. Further, it's a really rational promise, and I know we all want to believe that as Americans, we are so rational. You know, we see the problem, and we analyze the problem, and we create the solution, and then we act on the solution. And oh my goodness, that's not how we do it at all. We are emotional creatures. And we are led by the nose by our emotions. We have a reaction to something, and then we do something as a result of that. So saving is not a very emotionally compelling message. What is a more emotionally compelling message is don't waste. So the idea that I'm going to lose something I already have, that maybe I am losing hundreds of dollars every year to the utility company, it's my money, I already have it, and I'm losing that money every month, much more compelling message than this idea that I might somehow, some way save some random money that I don't have and never had, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. So the pain of losing is greater than this joy of imagined savings. So you want to play with that point. And ultimately, you want to connect people you're trying to talk to with the real underlying benefits that they actually care about, which is resale value, keeping their family healthy, keeping their kids safe and cozy, not wasting money, and ultimately being comfortable in their homes. That's what they care about. So as you do this, let's dig into a couple of examples about how you execute against this. I'm going to show you one on the water conservation front, and then I'm going to show you one on the energy efficiency front, and then we'll wrap up. Lowe's and Kohler are a couple of our clients, and they said something like what I've got on the screen. We got to help people understand how important water conservation is. Again, presuming if they understand how important water conservation is, then they will behave differently. And we said, nah, we don't really think it works that way. So we think if you want to change behaviors, we need to apply some principles of behavior change. Specifically, we got to wake people up to an automatic behavior so they can make a conscious choice. We need to make that automatic behavior uncomfortable so that they will want to behave differently. And then we've got to give them one simple prescriptive step to take so that we can get them to change their behavior. So, so we launched a PSA campaign nationally a couple of years ago designed specifically to wake people up to the moment when using water becomes wasting water, and make that moment uncomfortable and give them a specific step so that they could behave differently. So I'm going to show you the TV spots. Oh, and good, we do have volume, so this will all make sense when we roll through these.
Hey, don't you just love the sound of an empty dishwasher?
The moment using water becomes wasting water, it gets weird. Get normal by visiting wastingwaterisweird.com.
The water looks like a river. Let's party on this river. All day. Two best friends.
The moment using water becomes wasting water, it gets weird. Get normal by visiting wastingwaterisweird.com.
Don't you just love running water? It's like a little tiny waterfall with a tiny whirlpool. Like a whirlfall. Yeah, we just made up a new word. That happened.
The moment using water becomes wasting water,
Majesty.
it gets weird. Get normal by visiting wastingwaterisweird.com.
So what did we not do? We didn't talk about saving the planet. We didn't talk about saving water, saving energy, saving money. We just made it extremely weird to do this thing that we all do, which is just kind of let the water run. And highly effective campaign. PSA campaign. I don't know if you guys have ever played in that arena. No paid media. You literally pitch it on a station-by-station basis. And we got on 290 stations. We got $6 million in free ad space. And most important, 29% of the people who saw it said it moved them to change their water usage habits. We got a lot of feedback on Facebook that, oh my God, every time I brush my teeth, that guy shows up in my head. So that's a real win. So this is the kind of thing you guys want to do to shake it up and speak to what they actually care about. We are social creatures, and we look for cues as to how to behave. And so that was a great behavioral science tool there that we used to tell them, you know, that thing you do, it's really weird, and you should stop doing it. And that's more motivating than, hey, you might save a few bucks on your water bill, or you might save a few bucks on your energy bill, or, oh my gosh, the planet is in peril, and we're running out of water, and do it differently. So much more effective. We've got another campaign launching right now around energy conservation. This is also a PSA campaign. It's in the state of Michigan. So the two big utilities have come together there. DTE and Consumers Energy partnered up with Dow Chemical and an entity called Michigan Saves. They make low-interest energy efficiency loans. They've all come together, kicked in money for this campaign, and it's launching right now. And again, intended to use some of what I've been talking about today, that waste is a more visceral driver than saving. And what we're trying to do here is play on a common scenario that has played out in many of our homes, make light of it, kind of exaggerate it a little bit, and hopefully drive people to make more energy efficient choices.
78? 78? 78? No. What are you doing?
Putting it back up to 78 where it belongs.
We agreed on
It's summer and I'm wearing a sweater.
I'm melting.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of the thermostat. In this corner, fighting at 68 degrees, the energy waster. And in this corner, fighting at 78 degrees, the energy saver. And fight!
I'm melting!
Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From energy-saving tips and tools to helpful loan options, you'll find all the resources you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable.
Well, that makes sense.
That ought to do it. Totally energy efficient.
What are you doing?
I'm insulating.
Oh, no. No, this is not going to work. No, this is not, and this is embarrassing, actually.
You can feel it.
Oh, yeah,
There's no
we're
air-
not
there's
doing
no air
this.
coming
This is
through
not
here.
what we're going to do, because time we're getting help.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of home improvements. In this corner, Mr. I can save money and do it myself. And in this corner, Miss Let's Get It Done Right and Get Help. And fight!
Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From energy-saving tips and tools to helpful loan options, you'll find all the resources you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable.
I like comfort.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Notice it's stop wasting energy and staying comfortable. Not saving money, not saving the planet. Stop wasting energy and stay comfortable. And the nice thing about this campaign is it actually drives people to a website where they get to pick what their drama is. And we know that these are some of the barriers to participation in energy efficiency. Energy upgrades cost too much. I don't even know where to begin. But yet my home is always too hot or too cold. I don't know what to do. So people get to click on what's their drama, and then they get served up prescriptive action steps forward. So here are the ways in which DTE can help you. Here's how Dow Chemical can help you. Here are the things that you ought to do next. I also am a big believer in prescriptive solutions, and I'm not going to have time to run through this today, but we're launching a new program called Do 5 Things that the U.S. Green Building Council has licensed from us. We're selling it through utilities as well, and the idea is using consumer segmentation to boil down the 5 recommendations an individual consumer ought to act on, couched in the language that makes the most sense to them based on their consumer segment, to move them down the train from the first thing to the second thing to the third thing to the fourth thing to the fifth thing. Because our data says, much like people who've done 3 things, my utility bill went up, we actually find that people who've done 5 or more things are more likely to say their utility bill went down, and they're happier with their utility. So 5 is the magic number. So let me skip ahead through all that. The key takeaways I want to leave you guys with today, if you didn't take anything else away from the presentation, don't talk about saving the planet, net zero energy, high performance, or indoor air quality because people don't know what any of that means. Don't try to educate them, spin them, or scare them into buying. What you need to be talking about is comfort, health, controlling energy bills, not wasting, and better resale value. And make sure you're pushing behaviors, not just products, because if you're only pushing products, their behaviors won't match and they won't save any money. Do apply some of those principles of behavioral science and create specific prescriptive action steps so that people can actually take action and get something done. Don't just leave them with save energy. Tell them how. Tell them exactly what to do. I don't know if do I have time for any questions or do I need to wrap up? All right. So thank you. Thank you.